Do you accept me as your winner?
I acknowledge you as the winner.
Do you surrender?
I surrender.
Lock him in the tomb.
Someone else's bed was what I was waiting for. All my days, what have I done? She saw me sneaking out the door. What have I been waiting for? Been wasting all my time.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my review of the 5th episode of Class Series 1, Bravish Heart. So picking up from last week via about a scene later, Rams jumped through and then we see him running in the cave. So, shortly after the end of last week's, we see Ram and April on the Shadowkin world, which is more of a shadow to the rest of the universe, as they have to battle the Shadowkin King in order to reclaim April's heart, or so it seems. Meanwhile, there is this invasion from the the petal leaves that multiply each time they bite people and have a bit of blood, eventually starting to attack full-on, attacking schools and later full-on humans. So, yeah, we got that. And the subplot does work a bit better in this episode than it did the last episode, but with due respect, although it does work, it was in last week, and because then they would have a bigger of a threat this week. Yeah, I don't even know if they needed the petal threat altogether. They just needed a dilemma for Charlie. So really, the petal thing wasn't really that necessary. Oh, and also to give us an introduction to the new headmistress, show how far she will go to protect the Earth and how far Quill will go to kill the Shadowkin. Yeah. Well, if we split the stories apart, you've got the different characters going on their own adventures. You've got April and Ram on the Shadowkin world, and then eventually coming back to Earth after defeating the Shadowkin King, though not killing him because that will again kill April. So they return to Earth. Meanwhile, it's Charlie and Martinez with Quill and Dorothea, the headmistress, leading the other story. Tanya is just there. Tanya's not been very useful in this two-parter, has she? A bit like how Charlie and Martinez weren't that helpful in the last episode, but this time we've got Charlie's dilemma and Martinez being threatened if he doesn't use it. So they were used a bit better here, but really Tanya hasn't been used that great in this two-parter. The first 3 episodes she was used greatly, even though 3, whilst focusing on her emotion and character, and it did take its time to build up. So yeah. Quill just wants to get rid of the Shadowkin. She's a bit, what's the word? I suppose single-noted, and the same for Dorothea trying to save the world. They really don't have another option. So they're pressuring Charlie, they're forcing him into using this weapon, even though Dorothea expected April to come back and solve the problem. So, I guess it was a backup plan. Yeah. They're quite single-noted. Also, the characters' parents make an appearance. Well, April's and Ram's, as Tanya said, thank God her mum's not there, because, well, if you look at the reactions from the 3 parents in this episode, and also April's from the last one, you're probably not, and you've known Tanya's mother from the 1st and 3rd episodes, you're going to agree with her. And surprised to say, we are not looking forward to Tanya's family finding out, especially her mother. The brothers might be okay, but it's not the mother. Yeah, if you know what I mean. I was actually slightly worried about many of them finding out. I thought Ram's father took it well in the second episode, but in the fourth one, he's kind of making sure everything was at an end. And then this one, he's still fighting aliens. April's parents get a bit more development, although there's still one going, where's April? Where she's gone for most of it. When her dad goes in to talk to her, he does a good speech about how stupid he was and what an idiot, and how he's caused the three of them all these problems. So yeah, he's getting better as a person, by the way. Probably because now he knows what kind of an idiot he was and what the situation is. Hopefully we'll see him again, but only if April is in deep, needs a lot of help, needs him to come back. Ow. So only come back if he's needed, or come to rescue them, or come to save the day. There isn't really much. Shadowkin are a bit weak in this episode. They were quite strong in the first one, but in the fourth one, they were just standing around being grumpy, as opposed to being murderous and grumpy in the first one. Well, I wouldn't say grumpy, but arrogant. That's it, arrogant. Arrogant and murderer. Arrogant and murderous in the first episode. In the in the fourth, they were being grumpy and standing around arrogant. And this one, they were being arrogant and naive. Because Shadowkin thought he was going to win. Shadowkin King, and April won. Then she led, and now she's the king. And it doesn't matter if it's a girl or not, it's still technically a king. To them, at least, to the Shadowkin. So, yeah, Karanicus, the former king, is now in a kind of a tomb thing. And he's also removed the connection with April's heart that he got from the last episode, an improved one, I believe. So that gave her the powers to heal her mum's legs, which is what she did last episode. I think the reason she was still in the wheelchair was the fact that she was still uncertain. If that's the case, how can she drive? Because she said she'll drive. So maybe she has a special way of driving. Don't know if she'd been driving since the accident, but if so, there must have been some sort of way. Unless she uses one of Google's new self-driver cars now. Actually, that'd be pretty awesome. So, there is one problem I do have with this episode, is the random long speeches. Instead of building up the story that we had last week, instead of all the most of the episode being build up, then everything has been building up to and then calming down at the end. So the rising action, the climax, the falling action. If we're putting it into story tense, if we focus, the past 4 episodes have been focusing on rising action and exposition and rising action more than climax, resolution, falling action and resolution. Apart from the fourth one, which actually had its climax a bit earlier. But considering this was a 2-parter, it was also only part-way through the story. But as for the episodes, the climax was a bit sooner. And it wasn't as slow with the first 2 bits. With this one, as opposed to so much build-up to a point where it's resolved, to the resolution, to the climax and resolution, instead we have very long speeches that last about a minute or 2. The characters just seem just stop to talk for a minute or 2. The one that I got tired of the most was, I think it was the second or third one, the one just before April was about to fight the Shadow King, and she criticises Ram, but loves him anyway, and he's like, says like he's sleeping around playing football job type of thing. I don't know exactly what he's saying. I like his response to her. I sleep around. I like that. That was funny. Something I would say. In a FiveWhoFans video, there's a review of the Doctor Who fan series Time Agent, done by Richard B. Brooks. And not the series, the review. And in the review, which is of the entire series, he talks about how Series 3 has the characters standing around talking for ages. Though Morty's given the exception because of his personality. Yeah, so what Richard said about Time Agent Series 3's characters standing around talking for long periods of time throughout the third series, it's something similar to what happens here, except it's mostly with April and Ram. Also, considering that Time Agent Series 3 is one of the best fan series ever, and Judgment Day, the final episode, is probably one of the best things put on YouTube. No question about it. BBC, pick it up for an official spin-off series. Trust me, the fans will love it. And, yeah, that pretty much rounds it up. Settings are looking good. There's a couple of bits of information. That's good. It's more necessary to hear this extra stuff about the Shadow King than it is the extra stuff in whatever happened to Susan, which of course is uncanon, because that is not canon. You want my full thoughts, there's 2 Whoniversal reviews on it by me. Check those out. Also Richard's review of Time Agent on FiveWhoFans. I'll put links below. Yeah, settings are looking good. CGI is pretty good. I still don't really like the side plot. I think most of the episode should have been focused on April fighting the Shadow King and then becoming their king. And yeah. That being said, I think maybe the fact that it was a 2-parter was so that they could get this additional side plot in, so they can get 2 full-length 43-minute episodes, so about 86 minutes total, so they can get the full 86 minutes as opposed to, I don't know, 1.5 episodes as opposed to 2. In which case, it could have been a longer single episode, allowing for time, but 2 parts is good, but the petal thing, I don't know if it really needed to be in this one, apart from to give Charlie a dilemma and to show how far Quill and Dorothy will go to destroy one and defend another, as I mentioned earlier. So, yeah, but British Heart is a great episode. You will enjoy it, just got to get past a few minutes of long speeches, and you've got to grip your hands and teeth when the characters start to get a bit pushy at some points. I didn't have to this time, the first time round, but I wouldn't be surprised on rewatches. I'm not saying that you probably will have to grind your teeth and hands, but you may. It's a warning, caution. So, yeah, I'm going to give British Heart 9 out of 10. Yeah, it could have been a 10, but that subplot really, really doesn't work, even for the 2-parter. It's mostly focusing on April's storyline, but it works more here. The subplot does. Works more here than in the last episode, and that's why that one was an 8, as opposed to the 9 that I almost gave it. So, yeah, that's British Heart. Next week, it's Detained. Looks interesting. I'm looking more forward to that more than I am looking forward to episode 7, which has a ridiculously long title. I can't remember all of it, but the second half was what Quill did next. But the fact it's a really long title, it's almost as bad as the long title of Yellow Fever and How to Cure It, which was for the going to be a season 23 story before that plan of the originally planned one, before that was scrapped due to the hiatus and was replaced by Trial of a Time Lord. Also, the original title for Night Terrors, What Little Boys Are Made Of. Yeah, I'm glad they changed that to Night Terrors. So, I can't remember the first bit of this title. It'll be in the edit. So, this title, I don't really like it long. Maybe just what Quill did next, or the first bit, so I can't remember. Last one's got a good short title, The Lost. Yeah, looking forward to last 3 episodes, but more so 6 and 8. I wasn't so sure of 6 at first, but looking a bit better. So, yeah, we'll see what the last 3 have in store, and I'll see you guys next time. That's not my car. Well, I expected a girl to solve the problem. So, why did you need the box? Because I wanted to see how far Charlie and you would go. You. Come see me Monday about that thing in your head. Still got to do parents' evening though.